Welcome to the Anime Reviewers. I'm Matt.
I'm Zach. Today we're going to be talking about Redo of Healer, specifically episodes 1 and 2. But before we go any further on this show in particular, just major warnings here. This show covers very, very graphic material and very, very mature themes. None of which we will be showing in our video, but we will be discussing some of them. So just as a heads up, this show does contain drug use, drug abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, and sexual abuse. If any of these topics are not something you want discussed or hear about being discussed, and especially if you never want to see it, first off, do not watch this show. And second off, if it's not something you want to hear people talking about, please click away now.
This show is like a combination of what should be a really good story that has just absolutely run amok of not being as great as it should be, and just total fusion of ecchi,
Absolutely.
And I don't understand how this was even made as an anime, in the sense of these topics and these themes were that bad.
I think the topics and themes would have been fine. I think the big problem with this is how they chose to animate things.
Yeah,
I think that's the big problem with this. Is I think the topics and themes are actually
that's very
worth.
fair. I spoke poorly.
Yeah, I think the topics and themes are worth being discussed and explored. I think the big problem with this is they very graphically animate way more than they needed to. There are certain scenes I was fine with, and then others, especially in the second episode, that I was like, I don't need to see it. Like, there's a third of that episode you don't need to see.
Yeah, and thanks to the censors, you don't have to unless you want to go dig around on the internet to see it uncensored. And even then, it's just really bad. It's kind of like watching a movie with a nude scene that on regular cable or whatever, or they're just blurring like the show special edit of Showgirls where they edited the bras on all the women. Like, it's that bad.
Yeah, it is pretty bad.
And like some of the scenes, it's like, I love boobs. Why are you getting rid of these boobs? On the other hand, I can completely understand like that last third of the second episode. Why
you didn't need it.
You didn't need half the visual stuff, like the dialogue alone, and just better choices of angles.
Yeah. So this show follows this main character Kaoru, and we get a bit of his backstory and like all the torture and we even in the second episode get to see some of it. Of the drug abuse that he's been subjected to, the sexual abuse he has been subjected to. It does that. I will, like, the one thing I will say about this show that's at least on a positive note is the fact that, like, as crazy as he becomes and as crazy as he is in this, it makes sense. I'm not saying they justify his actions in any way. In no way do I condone what he's doing.
His actions,
make crazy sense in his
in the context of the world.
Yeah.
It makes there's some sense of why he's doing what he's doing in the sense that he has gone completely crazy because of the abuse. Because you see pieces of it in the first episode.
Yeah.
And then the second episode, they really bring it home.
They really hammer it home. Yeah.
And like because in the very beginning, there's this really awesome. Well, like you think it's gonna be really cool. Like he betrays his team when the people that he's with all get hurt in a battle with a demon lord, and they ask the healer to heal them, and then he refuses to and defeats the demon lord himself. The princess, she reveals that she lied and said she didn't have a healing potion when she did, and he tells her that he's going to destroy her and destroy her and her whole world.
Yeah.
And redo everything. And she says, if you do that, you're not going to remember anything. It's like, what you've done, which is a great, the dialogue.
Yeah.
It's, even the really bad stuff in the bad scene, It's like one of the only complimentary things I have to say about this show is the dialogue is very good.
Yeah.
If only they didn't show so much.
Yeah. And just to further explain the dialogue you're talking about real quick, like, the thing he says is, what you have done, like, because we find out he's been traveling with them for like 4 years. This is at the end when he's fighting the Demon Lord. But he says, you are correct, I may forget, but what you have done to me is carved into my soul.
I thought he said burned.
He may have said burned. I forget his exact wording, but it's either carved into his soul or burned into his soul. But it's something that, like, consciously he may forget, but deep inside of him, even with the reset, he will find a way to remember, which he ends up doing.
And the face he makes, I'll give them credit for, even though I think the animation is kind of poorly done on it.
Yeah.
It's purposeful. It actually reminds me of the Grinch when he has that smile on it. I'm talking from the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. The Grinch, that smile he has when he's stealing all the presents, or he thinks of some clever idea, and he's just really full of himself.
Yeah.
And he's just, it's actually that evil smile. And and crazy evil, I mean. Like, that is very well depicted in that, where you just know, like, you immediately know he is crazy.
Yeah. And then he gets the memory back and goes on his revenge fantasy. Which, honestly, I feel like we're not going to be discussing specifically. Like, our big point in regards to this was, like, the show has a lot of messed up things in it.
Yeah.
I will say, personally, I would say if you can stomach what it has, if you can stomach what it's a fine watch, and hopefully it's good.
It's not as hard to watch as, like, Berserk during the one scene.
Yeah. And that's why, like, at least in regards to some of the comments or reviews I've seen, like, other than us, like, a lot of people are flacking on this, like, hard. And I remember growing up watching Berserk Golden Age arc. If you've seen that, you know the scene I'm referring to.
The good Berserk.
Yeah, it is definitely good type of Berserk. But there is a very graphic, detailed scene in that. That for me, like, because I've seen stuff like that, what they show in this, as much as I disagree with it, and I feel it didn't need to be animated, like, I can stomach it personally.
Yeah, I've seen worse.
Yeah.
I've watched Italian horror movies from the 70s.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
But I will say, for people that are uncomfortable with it, like, absolutely, this is not the show for you.
Yeah.
Don't watch it. And I would even say, because, like, some of what I've seen online is people who have read the source material. This is as tame as this show gets.
Oh, yeah, it's clear it's going to get worse.
As far as I've read, and I've tried to stick away from spoilery stuff, but the big takeaway is what they've done so far is very, very tame for where he's going to go. And that's really my big concern is like, where they're going to have him go. Because if it's where it is now, and this is sort of his level of crazy, I can tolerate it, but there will be a limit to where, okay, this show is a hard pass all around.
Yeah. I only have 2 other comments to make about this show. The first comment is, this show, it has, like, a potential because of all of the themes it goes for, the risks it takes, the things it's depicting, and the mindset of the main character. They really do a good job of letting you understand why he's lost his mind.
Yeah.
Because the princess has done nothing but she drugged him, abused him, and basically let him be a toy for everyone, because his healing power gives them a boost in power. And he also knows that he can take their powers and use them.
Yeah.
Because he gets their memories, so so with that all flooding into him causes a great deal of suffering. And she controlled him by drugging him. And when before she came into his life, when he did it the second time, he took a lot of drugs to develop a tolerance to the drugs so he could take his revenge. Which leads to a really hardcore scene. That's really, like, if you could cut out, like, if you could make your own personal edits to it, you would just listen to the dialogue, just listen to the dialogue. If you could speak Japanese, or just read it and put a little sheet over, like. But then again, if you're watching that high dive, like I did, the subtitles are like 5 blocks because high dive is mine is messed up. If your high dive works, please tell me. Please tell me if your high dive gives you one set of subtitles, because mine gives me the same sentence 2 to 5 times. But the second point of the final point I want to make is a rhetorical philosophical question. Do you think people would be having the same reaction if Kearu was a female as opposed to a male? And that's everything. If you made it this far, thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And hit that bell icon for notifications. Also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Links in the description down below.